There are times and cases when a use case using simple text cannot properly describe a process. This is often due to the ambiguity that is found in natural languages. Therefore, in those types of cases, look to supplement the use case to make it easier for the developers to understand the process as well as the customers so that they can sign off on it. Activity diagrams can be used to show the workflow of a process that the user or system should be taking. This is a type of unified modeling language, or UML, flowchart that's going to show the flow from one activity in the system to another. It's used to describe the dynamic aspects of a system and is referred to as a behavior diagram because it describes what should happen in the modeled system. If you have built a flowchart in programming, you'll notice there's a lot of similarities. In some ways, an activity diagram is simpler, which means it should be more understandable to non-developers, as it doesn't use as many symbols and is at a higher level without all the details. Additionally, you might have a swim line diagram, which is used when you have multiple interfaces going across often multiple departments, so you know which element and department should be performing which task at which time. For example, you might have a user that initiates a process, but then a system job has to send information to a server which processes it and performs logic checking before returning control back to the user. In a swim lane, generally only one process can be active at a time, and each process is often part of a different department. This way, everyone will know what department is responsible for what part in the process. I worked on a project for approving spending requests once. While the initial request could come from any department, the IT department was responsible for checking that the spending request was using an approved vendor and was for an approved product. Now, this was because most requests were for computer hardware or software, and that's why the IT department got that job. Then it went to general accounting to check to make sure that the funds were ready for that purchase. Then it went back to the original department's vice president for approval if it was over a certain dollar amount. Finally, it went on to the executive team. The CFO and CEO might have to sign off for it if it was above another threshold. So depending upon how much it was for would depend upon who had to sign off for it and in what department they were. No one could work on their step until the previous steps were processed. While this might seem convoluted to an outsider, the spending request approval form was actually very efficient and made sure only the people who needed to see it did see it at the time. A swim line diagram would easily be able to show this process to an outsider who was trying to understand it for the very first time, because they would get to see who was doing what and when they were doing it.